Now at 9, we'll hear from some local plumbers on how they're dealing with an increase in frozen pipe calls. Plus, the Gordon Parks Museum hosts its Martin Luther King Jr. Day celebration after it was postponed because of the weather. And the Missouri Department of Conservation releases numbers on the recently ended deer hunting season.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
This is KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. Local plumbers have seen an increase in business during the cold temperatures. Some say their daily clients doubled in the last week and a half. Others say their team has been working until bedtime every day. KOAM's Fernanda Silva has the story.
I've never wanted to do dishes so much in my life.
The motivation for Nancy Alexander's interesting desire is one.
When I got home from work Friday afternoon, I had no water.
Then she had to improvise.
My daughter lives in town, so I just took a 5-gallon jug to her house and filled up.
The reason is familiar to many 4 states residents.
That's one of the first questions that I asked her, if she left her faucets running, and she said she didn't.
According to the plumber, a running faucet could have prevented Alexandra's pipes from freezing. But after that happens, asking for professional help is essential.
If you go ahead and wait, it could go ahead and expand the pipe, and it'll go ahead and happen like what happened on this case. The pipe went ahead and expanded and it broke on the CPVC.
Levin Lopez says MVP Plumbing has been busy.
It's been hectic. It's been really hectic. I want to say it definitely has doubled within the last week and a half, especially due to water lines getting bursted due to the cold weather.
But they're not alone.
Pretty much stay scheduled, pretty stacked tight. We try to fit in as many calls as we can as the day goes. Sometimes it carries into the next day, but we make sure that we try to get to every customer that calls us.
A busy season that comes with different kind of problems for these businesses.
It's definitely a good problem to have.
In Carthage, Fernanda Silva, KOAM News.
The plumbers recommend leaving the faucets dripping for as long as the temperatures are freezing. You can go to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com to learn other strategies that help avoid frozen pipes. Well, Chief Meteorologist Doug Hetty joins us with our first look at weather.
Well, of course, today was the first day since last Thursday. We actually got above freezing, so that is good. Heading in the right direction briefly. 36 started at 11, but still our average high is 45 and starting at 25. If we go outside right now, we're sitting into the upper 20s. We have snow melt fest for us today, so most of the roads are looking pretty good. All right, upper 20s. We'll drop back lower 20s later on tonight, but there's southerly winds still kicking in. Kind of sitting in that 5 to 15 mile per hour range throughout the overnight hours. So that does give us a wind chill, makes it feel a little bit colder into the lower 20s, and that is what we're going to see tonight. We do have some clouds which are skirting in, and the Arctic air is retreated for now, but it starts to plummet back toward the south as we go through the next few days. We're going to talk more about that here in just a bit.
All right, thanks, Doug. Joplin police are just now releasing information about a crash that happened last week, killing a pedestrian. It happened last Thursday at the intersection of East 32nd Street and South Finley Avenue. Police say a vehicle traveling west on 32nd Street hit a pedestrian crossing the street. That pedestrian, 59-year-old William Heskett III of Joplin, died of his injuries on Sunday. This marks the second fatal vehicle versus pedestrian crash of the year in Joplin. Dungawood authorities release an update to a stabbing incident at a bus stop last week. Last Thursday, Jasper County deputies responded to an assault call at the bus station in Dunwig. Deputies found an 18-year-old man from Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, with severe injuries to his neck. The man was transported to a local hospital. He has since been released and is recovering. The case is still active, and detectives are asking the public for information. Well, the deer hunting season that just ended in Missouri appears to be a record breaker. That's according to preliminary numbers from the Missouri Department of Conservation. Missouri's 2023-24 deer hunting season ended on Monday. The department says in total, hunters killed more than 326,000 deer in the state. That beats the 2006 record by about 500. MDC attributes the increase to a larger deer population and regulation changes that allowed more hunting permits. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday was Monday, but frigid temperatures prevented residents in Fort Scott from celebrating together on that day. So the event was rescheduled to today. KOAM's Anthony Saviello has more.
If you don't learn, you stop growing. So you have to learn and open up and learn new things. And each year I learn how much that Martin Luther King has affected everybody from all walks of life, from all ages too as well.
Kirk Sharp is the executive director at the Gordon Park Museum at the Fort Scott Community College. His role extends beyond the campus and into the community, especially when it means bringing people together to celebrate one of the most influential civil rights leaders in our nation's history.
It's important to help keep that history and legacy alive and the hard work that Martin Luther King sacrificed to help to fight for freedom, champion social justice. So we want to honor that day, honor this day with that.
For Kirk, this is not just a day to honor Dr. King, but to make sure his legacy stays intact for the future.
The fight for freedom didn't just come instantly. It was a struggle during the civil rights movement, and Martin Luther King was a key component to that. And so we want to make sure that the lessons learned from the past is not repeated going into the future.
Those who attended were asked to participate in a food drive, engage in a free lunch, and listen to a performance honoring Dr. King, a performance that began with his favorite song. Reporting in Fort Scott, Anthony Saviello, KOAM News.
The college has hosted this event for 12 years. Well, some students in Arma, Kansas today learned about the importance of traffic safety, and Miss Kansas stopped by to help teach them that lesson. Miss Kansas, Courtney Wages, is partnering with the Kansas Traffic Safety Resource Office for its SAFE campaign. Today, the campaign taught students at Northeast High School how they can protect themselves while on the road.
So personally, I talk about my platform, which is called One Vision is Not the Only Vision, advocating for vision awareness in blind and visually impaired communities, and how a car crash can result in a disability such as vision awareness and result in many other tragedies that we don't want to happen in Kansas.
The SAFE program stands for Seatbelts Are for Everyone. Coming up, you want to take some you time, but there's dinner to make, laundry to wash, and kids to care for. We'll have some tips for overcoming that critical part of your well-being. It includes anything you do to keep yourself healthy, both physically and mentally. But many times, parents have a hard time finding the time and may feel badly about taking it. Mandy Gaither has tips for parents on how to overcome feelings of so-called mom guilt.
You want to take some you time, but there's dinner to make, laundry to wash, kids to care for. But health experts say self-care is critical for health.
There's a misunderstanding that it's something that's selfish, to take time for ourselves.
Dr. Melissa Young with Cleveland Clinic says parents can overcome guilt by recognizing self-care isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. She says to pretend you have an energy bank.
We have to put deposits into the bank for our energy. We have to put deposits into the bank for calming our nervous system. If we're constantly running on being overdrawn, we're just never going to catch up.
It doesn't have to take long to recharge. If you only have a short time, meditate, go for a quick walk, take a bath, or spend time with friends.
Even if that's 5 minutes in a day to, be by yourself, have a quiet time, do some deep breathing. It's restorative.
Young says not to feel guilty about making ourselves healthier because it can also make us better partners and parents.
When we're stressed all the time, we can be very irritable, and then that doesn't help our relationships or help us necessarily parent any better.
And if your feelings of stress or anxiety get to be overwhelming, Young says a doctor can help. For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Young says parents are role models for their children, so if self-care is a priority for a mom or dad, children are more likely to practice it too. Well, a new study finds e-cigarettes help pregnant smokers quit without risk to the pregnancy. Researchers at Queen Mary University of London concluded the regular use of nicotine replacement products during pregnancy was not associated with poor outcomes. The lead researcher says health risks to babies in the womb from smoking seem to be caused by other chemicals in tobacco smoke rather than nicotine. Video gamers worldwide may be risking irreversible hearing loss as well as persistent ringing in the ears known as tinnitus. New research published in the journal BMJ Public Health finds sound levels reported in studies of more than 50,000 people are often close to or exceed safe limits. Well, Doug is next with a complete look at your forecast. And later, Colgan squares off against Galena in the second round of the Tony Dubray Classic.
Well, of course, it was cold once again for us today, but warmer than what we have seen. And we finally broke that freezing mark. Still, though, about 10 degrees below where we should be. Nice shot. Cornell Arts and Entertainment Complex, Tower Cam, downtown Joplin. We are looking off toward the north and to the east. You can still see windy. We had the flags kind of blowing in the wind, and that's what we're going to have as we go through the overnight hours tonight. Temperatures right now, most of us upper 20s to lower 30s, so it's cold, but not extreme cold like we have seen. But the wind doesn't really help. We have southerly winds 5 to 10 to 15, so this makes it feel a little bit colder than what it actually is. We're still going to have these southeasterly winds as we go through the morning hours. Not super windy tomorrow until tomorrow evening. The winds will start to pick up out of the northwest and then really get moving tomorrow night. This is going to usher in some Arctic air once again. So with the stronger winds and the Arctic air pushing back in, we're going to get those cold wind chills across the region. Right now, wind chill factor sitting lower 20s, which isn't bad compared to what we have been like. And these are going to drop for us as we go through the overnight hours tonight. So back right around 10. By tomorrow afternoon, they'll be sitting kind of near 30. But then tomorrow night, look at this, they take a plunge, minus 10 to about minus 15 across the region. We do have some clouds which are rolling in. May get a flurry or two later on tonight as one wave is passing by. But here's our next wave. Not a lot of moisture with it, but what it's going to do is it's going to yank that Arctic air right back into the region by the time we get into especially Friday night, and then into Saturday as well. It'll be short-lived, but it's going to move in. All right, tonight, clouds, maybe a random flurry. Dropping back, lower 20s. As we go through the morning hours tomorrow by noon, we'll be sitting into the mid-30s. Should make it up to about 38, 39 degrees for a high. Tomorrow night, northerly winds, so we start to cool down. See a couple snow showers in our northern counties, maybe a few flurries, kind of shoot on through, not a huge deal, but temperatures down to about 8 by Friday morning. Friday afternoon, partly sunny. We just don't warm up much. Only upper teens to near 20 degrees by the time we head into Friday afternoon. Then Friday night, we dig all the way down near 0 once again for overnight lows. So it gets kind of cold. All right, day planner for you tomorrow, 23 at 7, 32 by 11, 37 by 3, backing down to 31 by the time we head into tomorrow evening. High temp 39, but only 19 on Friday, down to 3 Saturday morning, only 21 on Saturday. We do get back to 35 on Sunday after a cold start. Rain chances for us next week. We're going to be talking more about that in our second half hour.
How warm did it actually get today?
It hit like 36. Too bad.
But I mean, it was above freezing,
I know, it was nice.
You know? And tomorrow we're going to do it again.
Not bad.
Something to look forward to. All right, thanks, Doug.
Yep.
Well, some kids in Joplin took advantage of the slightly warmer temperatures for some sledding. Murphy Boulevard Park proved the perfect launch pad for the sledding fun. One sledder said it's something she loves to do when given the chance.
It feels really fun having to come out here and play in the snow. We've done this for a lot of Christmases and a lot of New Year's, so yeah, it's pretty fun.
The good news is area kids can probably expect a few more prime sledding days before winter is over. Coming up, why fishermen are taking federal regulators all the way to the The FAA is expanding its investigation into quality control for the Boeing 737 MAX 9 planes after the recent in-flight blowout of a door plug. They're looking into manufacturing practices and production lines, including those involving subcontractor Spirit Aerosystems, which builds the MAX 9 fuselage. The agency grounded 171 of the MAX 9 airplanes and set requirements for a rigorous inspection and maintenance process for returning them to service. Supreme Court justices today heard arguments over a regulation that puts fishermen on the hook, forcing them to pay for federal monitors on their boats. Fishing companies argue Congress never granted specific authority to launch the expensive federal mandate, pointing out Congress has denied a request to fund the program, putting the regulators on shaky ground. Fox's Douglas Kennedy has been following this long-running legal battle to reel in the administrative state.
So this was a regulation imposed upon you, not passed by Congress, not passed by any lawmaker.
No, it was imposed on us by a regulatory agency who doesn't care about the profitability of these vessels and doesn't care that we're going to have to pay an onboard government enforcement agent more than the crew it's going to make per day.
Megan Lapp is from Seafreeze, which operates the Relentless, a herring fishing boat from North Kingston, Rhode Island. In 2018, NOAA said the Relentless must carry a government observer on its 10-day trips, which was fine, but then said Megan's company had to pay for it. So this was essentially a tax on your business by an agency with no accountability to the public.
Absolutely. And once they implemented it, there was nowhere else for us to go.
In 1984, the U.S. Supreme Court gave federal agencies like NOAA tremendous power to interpret laws and impose regulation on small businesses like Megan's. It's a landmark case that's come to be known as Chevron. So you're now asking today's Supreme Court to overturn what's been known as Chevron deference.
Yes, because it's completely unfair that the agencies get to decide what the law is.
John Vecchione is the Seafreeze attorney now suing the federal government. He says many federal agencies have taken advantage of the ruling to impose unreasonable regulations on ranchers in the West and other small business owners in the South and Midwest. But the most egregious may be NOAA, which has put what some call senseless limits on fishing and recently proposed an onerous speed restriction on boats over 35 feet in the East, all bypassing any democratic process.
Congress does not have to write clear laws about what they want, and the agencies then get to declare what the law is with no input from the people or the voters.
Megan says she can accept any rules and regs as long as they're imposed by someone who is answerable.
Because the government agencies aren't answerable to anyone, they're not afraid of the citizens. The citizens end up being afraid of the government.
She's hoping the Supreme Court can remove that fear and restore accountability to all federal agencies. In North Kingston, Rhode Island, Douglas Kennedy, Fox News.
Well, good news for home buyers and sellers. Mortgage rates are declining. The average rate is about 6.6%. That's more than a full percentage point lower than last year's high of 7.79. Confidence among home builders is surging, but what's really needed to beef up the market is for existing homeowners to become more willing to sell. That requires interest rates low enough to encourage them to give up their current loan rates. Up next, we'll check out how a Kansas City bakery is commemorating the Chiefs' wild card win and Andy Reid's frozen mustache. Fans of the Kansas City Chiefs are not just talking about the team's Super Bowl aspirations, they're also infatuated with head coach Andy Reid's frozen mustache. Saturday's game was the coldest game in Arrowhead Stadium history. It was so cold, Reid's mustache froze like an icicle. And now a Kansas bakery is memorializing the iconic look with an Andy Reid cake featuring the frozen stash.
We've gotten a lot of feedback on social media about it, a lot of laughs. We've actually been talking about maybe some cookies or a cake with a cracked helmet on it. You never know what we're going to come up with here at McLean's.
McLean's Bakery and Market in Waldo says response to the cake has been overwhelming. 30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports is coming your way. A local accounting firm discusses tax changes that could save you money this year. Plus, President Biden and lawmakers work to finalize a spending bill to fund border security ahead of a government shutdown.
You're watching the 4 States Most Watched News.
This is KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. As tax season inches closer, credits for residential energy are available to some filers. KOAM's Amber Jenkins explains.
The federal government is encouraging everyone to improve home energy by offering tax credit. Credit for improving home insulation ranges between $250 to $2,000.
For example, if you're able to take a $2,000 credit for insulating your home, that's $2,000 less in taxes that you'll have to pay in the year. So that can be pretty substantial for some people.
The credit only applies to improvements made during the year that's filed, meaning the work had been done in 2023.
We want to see people renovate their homes to make sure that they're energy efficient, saving energy, but also saving them money not only on their taxes, but their monthly bills.
Bruce Poland is a manager at the Villas at Creekside, a 55 and older community in Pittsburgh. While residents may not reap the benefits of the tax credit, Poland says they appreciate the energy-efficient homes for other reasons.
As hot as we had last summer, the biggest bill that they had was $142 gas and electricity, and that's with the heat. They're very, very well built.
That applies even in the winter.
Throughout the holidays, and I use the gas fireplace, and I bake a lot, and my gas bill was only $84, which is the cheapest gas bill I've ever had. My gas bill in the wintertime used to run around $160.
Reporting in Pittsburgh, Amber Jenkins, KOAM News.
Right now, the IRS says it will begin accepting 2023 tax returns on January 29th. Well, you're invited to a public meeting next week to discuss a plan to widen Joplin's West 20th Street. That meeting will be at the Twin Hills Country Club on Thursday, January 25th from 4 to 6 p.m. The city is in the preliminary phase of the project that would widen and improve 20th Street west of Schifferdecker Avenue. The city is specifically looking for input from property owners in that area. For weeks, the Biden administration has been involved in talks with Congress over new border policy. With the deal still not on the table, President Biden is stepping in, hoping to push negotiations to the finish line while also securing funding for Israel and Ukraine. Fox News correspondent Rebecca Castor reports from Washington.
With the relentless war in Ukraine and the violence between Hamas and Israel spreading further across the Middle East, Congress is still sitting on billions of dollars in foreign aid.
If we don't get it right in Ukraine, we're going to pay a heavy price in some other countries soon.
The holdup has to do with border security. Republicans holding firm, vowing to withhold a proposed $100 billion aid package until the U.S. border is under control.
I can't help Israel and Ukraine until I help our own country.
Now President Biden is stepping in, inviting congressional leaders to the White House Wednesday to urge both chambers to reach a deal.
For the first time, I think the chances of getting it done in the Senate are greater than not getting it done.
The president has been really clear. He wants to talk about Ukraine, the urgency of making sure we continue that assistance to Ukraine.
But Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson doesn't plan to budge on securing new border policy.
I'm going to tell the president what I'm telling all of you, and we've told the American people, border, border, border. We have to take care of our own house.
But does taking care of your own house also mean avoiding a government shutdown? With these negotiations still unresolved, Congress also faces a funding deadline at the end of this week. There is a bipartisan deal on the table to avoid a government shutdown on Friday, but it involves a short-term spending bill called a CR that many hardline Republicans who want to slash the budget are against. In Washington, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
Well, the race for the Republican presidential nomination is now focused on New Hampshire. All three GOP candidates are in the Granite State today ahead of next Tuesday's pivotal primary. Now, polls show Trump ahead but not by nearly as much as in Iowa. Nikki Haley is polling a close second. A bit later, health scares for a pair of monarchs.
Medical issues hit the UK's royal family, both King Charles III and the Princess of Wales having surgeries. I'm Greg Balcott in London. That's my story. Coming up.
Well, of course, warmer today, but still cold outside. Really, our temperature is about 10 degrees colder than what they should be for this time of the year. 30 in Fort Scott. We got 30 in Independence. Veneta, 30. Bentonville, 28. Carthage is sitting at 29 degrees. We'll drop back lower 20s later on tonight. All right, we got the southerly wind. Still a little bit breezy out there, so that makes it feel a little bit colder than what it actually is. We're going to have these southeasterly winds into the morning hours. Still breezy tomorrow. Winds kind of south 10 to 20. But once we get a cold front that shifts through, as we go into tomorrow evening, those northwesterly winds are really going to start to pick up again. So it's going to feel much colder with the wind chill once again as we get into Friday, which kind of stinks. All right, our wind chill right now, it feels like lower 20s. By morning, these are going to be sitting nearly about 10 degrees. As we get into tomorrow afternoon, wind chills jump up to about 30 during the afternoon. But look at this, they plummet tomorrow night, minus 10, minus 15, and hang out kind of near zero all day long on Friday. And that's due to our next wave pushing through. All right, we have some clouds out there. We may get a few flurries later on tonight, but really any light snow staying across northern parts of Missouri. Here's our next wave. Again, not much in the way of moisture, but what it will do is usher in that cold air. Look at this Arctic air. It sinks south as we go into Friday and Saturday. Thankfully, it's going to be short-lived. It's not going to sit on us for too long, but it will cool us right back down. All right, temperatures by morning, lower 20s. By noon, mid-30s. During the afternoon, I think most of us 38, 39 degrees. As we go through tomorrow evening, a few snow showers shoot across the northern counties. We could see a few light little snow showers, a few flurries, not a big deal. Tomorrow night, we plummet down to about 8, and then on Friday, cold again. High temps into the upper teens with that Arctic air in place. And then as we go into Friday night and Saturday morning, temperatures, actual temperature near zero once again. Day planner on your Thursday, 26 by 9, 36 by 1, 35 by 5 p.m. Our next system moves in Sunday night. Temperatures are going to be in the upper 20s as we get into the overnight hours. So we could see some freezing rain and sleet. We want to watch this over the next few days, and then we transition all over to rain Monday afternoon lasting into Tuesday. So we do have rounds of systems next week, but majority of them look like they're going to be rain. All right, 39 tomorrow, 19 on Friday, down to 3 Saturday morning. Only 21 Saturday afternoon, 35 Sunday, 40s return next week, even 50s late next week, which is going to be really nice to have.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to those 40s. That's, 30s have felt great today and tomorrow, but 40s?
Yeah, sounds pretty good.
Let's have them. All right, thanks, Doug. Coming up in sports, Missouri Southern women's basketball tries to get its 9th win in a row. Plus, 3 local high school football players are headed to the MIAA. John Dales has those stories and more up next.
Hey, welcome into sports. I'm John Dales. In college basketball, Missouri Southern Women's Hoops is one of the hottest teams in the MIAA. Winners of 8 in a row entering this evening's contest at Washburn. And the Lady Lions continue their incredible hot streak. They win tonight 69-50 on the road over Washburn. Missouri Southern center Ryan Franklin leads all scorers with 20 points on 9 of 13 shooting. This was a 1-point game after the first quarter, but the Lions outscored the Ichabods 16-1 in the second quarter and never looked back. But in the men's game, the Ichabods get the best of the Lions, 70-65. The Lions fall further in the MIAA standings, and despite a strong night from several starters, including Winston Desisau, who scores 19 and connects on all 5 of his attempted three-pointers. Pittsburgh State basketball also on the road in the MIAA this evening. Tough showing for the Gorilla women's team. They lose 71-59 to Emporia State in a game where they shot 3 of 20 from beyond the three-point arc. PSU has now lost 3 of its last 4 games and is likely to fall out of the top 25 after this. Same result for the men's team. The Gorillas fall to the Hornets 70-61 on the road. 4 different players on Emporia State score double-figure points, including Solomon Oragbu, who finishes with a game-high 21. Max Alexander and reigning MIAA Player of the Week Marquis English combined for 31 in a losing effort. Over to football. Caden Seamster commits to Washburn. According to his Twitter page, the 3-time All-State honorable mention wide receiver had 38 catches for 700 yards and 6 receiving touchdowns in his senior year with Chanutes. He also tacked on 2 rushing touchdowns, a passing touchdown, 39 tackles, and an interception. Meanwhile, Tucker Harrell commits to Pittsburgh State. He was a standout at defensive back and quarterback for Colgan. This past season, he helped lead the Panthers to an 11-0 start and an appearance in the state semifinals. According to his Twitter page, Harrell will play safety at PSU. He's a 2-time first-team All-State defensive back. Then, Cade Brown, a high school senior at Parsons, announces he's committing to Central Missouri. He played tight end and linebacker for the Vikings. Brown finished the 2023 season with 100 tackles, 15 tackles for loss, 3 touchdowns, and 101 receiving yards, which earned him a first-team All-State selection at linebacker. Over to high school basketball, the second round of the Tony DeBray Classic tips off at Liberal High School. In the girls bracket, we have a showdown between 2 of our local teams. Galena taking on undefeated Colgan. In this contest in the semifinals, winner moves on to the championship round. And the Bulldogs striking first from deep. It's Aristus Sturgis who knocks down the long ball. Quick answer though, back on the inside from Colgan's Lily Brown. 3-2, the Bulldogs still leading it at that point. Then Lily Brown back on the inside, fouled and had one more. Diving in on the other side into the lane between defenders, Riley Boyd scoops up for the layup, 2 more. Then the pass deflected. This is what Colgan does so well. Goes off to the races. Defense creating offense, 7-5 Colgan at that point, and defense is what's for dinner. Jacayla Davis gets a hand in the passing lane. That's 2 more off the steal. The Panthers coast to a victory, 66-26. They'll play in the tournament championship on Saturday evening. With that Colgan girls team, they've been so dominant this year, haven't lost a game yet, haven't played a game within 20 points yet so far this season, and we're 2 months in.
It's fun watching Lily Brown score there.
Yeah.
Known her since she was this tall.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. We'll be back with more news. Great Britain's royal family are having medical issues, forcing them to delay planned public appearances over the coming weeks. Fox News senior foreign affairs correspondent Greg Palcott has the story.
Just a few weeks ago, the UK royal family was all smiles as they greeted crowds after a Christmas church service. King Charles III, his wife Queen Camilla, as well as family, including the Prince and Princess of Wales, all showing a united front to welcome the new year. Outings like this will likely not happen again for a while. The Princess of Wales, formerly known as Kate Middleton, has been hospitalized. Kensington Palace saying the princess checked into a private clinic Tuesday for a planned abdominal surgery. While the palace didn't offer exact details, they did say the condition wasn't cancerous, and her recovery is expected to take weeks. Kensington Palace saying in a statement, Princess Kate, quote, hopes the public will understand her desire to maintain as much normality for her children as possible, and her wish that her personal medical information remains private. Moments later, in a surprise move, Buckingham Palace also made headlines after announcing the king will also be having a surgery. He'll undergo a corrective procedure next week and will be postponing all planned public engagements. A statement saying, in part, quote, in common with thousands of men each year, the king has sought treatment for an enlarged prostate. His Majesty's condition is benign. It's a rare move by both palaces, as the royal family is notorious for saying little, and even more so when it comes to their health. But many see it also as a publicity move by the king to encourage other men to get their prostate checked, as enlarged prostate is common in men over 50. While Buckingham Palace hasn't said how long the king will be away, Kensington Palace has already said that the princess will return to public duties after Easter, the end of March. In London, Greg Palcott, Fox News.
Well, coming up, we'll learn how scientists in Sweden are using old Christmas trees to give marine life a safer place to live. Christmas is far behind us, but some people are still tossing out their trees. Scientists in Sweden say they found a tremendous way to recycle them, and fish are taking the bait. Ian Lee has the story.
One by one, Swedish volunteers chuck Christmas trees into Stockholm's icy waters. Large rocks sink the festive furs to sleep with the fishes, giving marine life a safer place to live.
If you look at it, there are plenty of places to hide in here. There are all these branches and there are the pine needles as well.
Using dead trees to bring new life to these waters is an annual tradition in Sweden. Because throwing them away, along with their holiday spirit, can be downright depressing.
It's also a bit sadness of time passing by.
More than 1,000 trees have taken the cold plunge to help restore endangered ecosystems.
There's not a lot of vegetation, there's not a lot of reeds, and those are really important habitats for fish that have gone missing.
Soon, fish eggs replace tinsel strung around the trees, leaving a gift of something they've been pining for, a new home.
Great idea. The project has been going since 2016, and environmentalists are encouraging other communities to use pesticide-free trees to create new homes for the fish. That's our time for tonight. Thanks for joining us. We're going to leave you with video of otters at the Knoxville Zoo enjoying the ice and snow. Have a great night and an even better tomorrow.